Good morning, everybody. This is Don Tchaikovsky with Fidelity National Title, bringing you this week's installment of Market of the Moment. And we are excited to be presenting some fresh new information with our special guest, Mr. Andrew Altman. Andrew is with Open to Close and Realty One Group. And Andrew, we're going to be coming back to you here in just a moment. But before we dive into that this morning, I want to make sure that everybody knows our panel and our regular folks who are on each week. And as you may have noticed last week, we shifted our market updates to the end part, the last half hour of the Market of the Moment. So this morning we are excited to be joined by Mr. Jesse Herfel, the operating principal of Keller Williams Integrity First. Jesse, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And Jesse, you just recently had a move, so we're going to be excited to hear about all of that.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
The perils of home ownership and buying and selling, right? Exactly. So, but thank you for being on as usual, Jesse. And we're looking forward to hearing what we've got going on in the market. Mindy Jones of the Amy Jones Group. Mindy, thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, guys. Happy Thursday.
And so, Mindy, as we made it through the MLK weekend last week, and we know that that's the traditional kickoff of real estate season, so we are looking forward to hearing about all these crazy amount of listings that hit the market. So there's all this inventory available. So so we're looking forward to checking in on that. And then Ms. Amber Kovarik of Guild Mortgage. Amber, thank you so much for joining us this morning as usual.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Amber, I'm excited to hear what's going on. You know, we talked last week about a little bit of uptick in interest rates, but you know, something else this week or over this new year that we've been looking at is now the FHA limits increases and conventional loan limit increases. Mm-hmm. So very curious to hear if we're seeing any impact on those or if it's affecting the way people are writing deals that you guys are seeing. So, so looking forward to circling back on that. And then I always want to say supervisor. It's so weird because like
that's weird. I don't think I've ever been in supervisor.
Supervisor.
My boss lady, Miss Sharon Shahoon, the Vice President of Sales for Fidelity National Title.
Hey everyone, welcome all Facebook friends. You know, I just heard this morning, today is the day that people fall off of their resolutions. I guess the 21st.
Really true? I saw there was a news story coming on about New Year's resolutions.
So don't fall off your resolutions. And if you haven't started a resolution saying like I'm going to work in 21, now's a really good time to do it. Welcome everyone.
Yeah. So, okay, well, thanks everybody who's checking us out on Facebook today. Those of you guys checking us out live, those of you who will be checking us out later, you know, we appreciate your time in checking in on us. So, so this week we are joined by Mr. Andrew Altman, and Andrew is a great partner to Fidelity National Title. Him and his real estate team, and we're going to talk a little bit about his development in the business as an agent, but then we're also going to talk about some new technology that Andrew has been working on that might be of interest to you guys as well. So Andrew, thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Andrew, okay, let's start off with the beginning. So tell us how you ended up as a real estate agent. How did you end up going down this road? How long have you been in the business, and what's that look like for you?
Yeah, so I worked for a civil engineering company when I first moved to Arizona for about 10 years. And
okay, so just like real estate, civil engineering, that's like the same thing, right?
Yeah, I had I was a professional land surveyor. So all I did was review title reports all day. So it was a natural progression. I worked with a lot of developers in the Chandler Gilbert area, Phoenix. And so it was kind of a natural progression that why am I making this much money when I can make this much money? So I saw how much these guys were selling these properties for. And I was like, maybe I need to make a transition over to real estate. So that's how it began 12 years ago.
12 years ago, excellent. Okay, so in that time, you know, you've done really well in your own sales, and then you've gone on to build a team.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
So we actually scaled back the team now that we're working on the software company. So I changed my goals a while ago. At the beginning, it was build this big team, make all this money. And then we came to the realization when I went to some mastermind groups that when we passed around our P&Ls, some of these teams with 20, 30 agents on them were making less than I was as a single agent. So the goal became net profit after that and getting multiple streams of income, whether it was real estate or not. So maybe have a side marketing company, maybe a Shopify business, sell things on Amazon, have your real estate going. But the goal in all those businesses was so that I didn't have to work in them. So it was start the business, get a VA from either the Philippines or somewhere else to work that business and report back to me on Monday, kind of the 4-hour work week type of transition, and then slowly move into another business. The goal is to make $100,000 in each business and get 5 or 6 streams of income coming in. So the team has scaled down since then. We work mostly off referrals now, past clients, referrals from attorneys and accountants. And we really don't take on clients that are a pain in the butt. We work with who we want to work with now, which is great. I don't have to, like the first year I took a bunch of clients that were very painful and I just had to do it because it was the first year in the business. But now we get to pick and choose who we work with, which creates a great culture on our team too, because we give our agents the ability to say, maybe we're not the right fit for you. If you don't trust us and you're not going to take our advice, let me refer you to someone else that you may trust more.
I think, Andrew, that's been one of the biggest challenges, I think, with people building teams is that, there's a lot of people who are like, maybe that's a great idea. And I know that works for you guys and you guys are doing a bunch of transactions, but I'm going to do it my way.
Well, the other thing is this is a, largely ego-driven business. The more members on your team, the better you feel about yourself. For me, it's how much time I can spend with my family and how much net profit can I bring back to have the freedom to do that.
Awesome. So Andrew, as you've evolved and you had, you've been doing the traditional real estate business, the traditional team, open to close is something that is one of those other streams that you've been working on. But what is where did you identify the need? What was that like for you? And how did that come to be like, oh my gosh, I need to do something different here?
Yeah. So
related to transaction management.
Yeah. So the first 2 years in the business, I think the first year we did 43 deals. The second year we did 63. And I got a call from my broker and said, hey, can you come talk to these guys about what you're doing to get this business so fast? And I didn't know what he was talking about, to tell you the truth. And I had to ask him some questions. All I did was answer my phone and hustle to the first appointment. That was my goal. Just get there as fast as I could. I had a set of clothes hanging by the garage, jump in those babies and hit the truck and fly out to the showing. And that's really how we did it.
Right. Your little phone booth on the way to the garage.
Exactly. So that was our goal. It was just answer the phone every single time it rang. I didn't care if it was 10 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning. I was answering that phone because that was my lifeline to business. We did get lucky with a couple of referrals that were listings that were a lot of sign calls on those. So we were able to convert some of those people. But the one thing that I did notice from engineering, if I didn't answer a phone call from my client, I was fired. They were going to move on. In real estate, it seemed commonplace just to, I'll get to it when I get to it. And that was not my mindset. So when I realized that it was actually that simple to do a little bit of business, to at least support my family off that business, it made it a lot easier, a lot less stressful. Just answer my phone and I'm going to be able to bring in the money to support my family. But the one thing that we did notice was a lot of our referrals were because we took such great care of our clients. We didn't have that many clients at the beginning. So we were spending a ton of time with them and they became lifelong clients that I'm still working with, that I've sold, 10, 11 houses with some of these people. But we did notice that the transaction management portion was clunky, and we were trying to piece together softwares and we were trying to do all this stuff to make it work and I'm big into automation. So I was trying to automate this process. And back in 2010, there just weren't a lot of options. So I started with Salesforce. I started building Salesforce and trying to do this automation with Salesforce, and it became an endless pit of time and money. I'm not a developer, so it took me 20 times the amount of time, and I noticed my sales were slipping during that time. Anytime you bring on a new software, if you don't have a person in place to be dedicated to that, you're gonna lose that time with your clients, and your sales are gonna go down. So you need to find that balance if you're gonna bring on a new project into your business. So I've been trying to work on this for about 8 years now, this transaction management platform, and I finally linked up with the right guy. And my partner, Shane, he knows the development side. He's had a transaction management platform before. I put the agent touch on it, and we kind of collaborated, and we've developed open to close to basically automate the transaction for you as much as possible without the personal touches. So now the TC can work on what fires may come up. Let's take care of those before they become fires, instead of all the minutia of sending out the emails and the text messages and keeping up on the transaction. All that is done by the computer now.
You know, it's funny because so you and I did a demo yesterday with one of our partners, and you know, all that stuff is very foreign to me. I'm fortunate that Sharon employs me just to be this pretty face and to, you know, be a talking head. And
that's a good supervisor.
Right there.
Yeah, she supervises that well, doesn't she, Jesse?
You're like, why is she laughing? I don't know.
But you know, as we were going through that yesterday, it was, you know, it just became apparent to me, and especially watching that transaction manager who was on the other end of it, like how much they were like getting excited by what we were looking at. I'm like, okay, this is good, because I don't touch files. I don't do any of that stuff, and it's best for everybody that it stays that way. But I was just so impressed by how much the questions that they were asking and how pleased they were with your responses.
Yeah, you could tell that was a really good transaction coordinator on the other end too, because she had really, really good questions. So her questions were really poignant, and they were really detailed as well. So that's the kind of client that does the best on the system, because it does take some time to set up. But when it's set up, we went from 18 hours of transaction to 2.5 hours of transaction using the software.
Well, what I love about this, Andrew, is you're taking what, you know, somebody might have a good transaction coordinator, and you're making it so that they can make a ton more money. They can be spread so much further away because of your program, or further out, and not have to work more. And it keeps them so much more efficient, because, you know, human error, it is what it is. But computer's going to be like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you're like, okay, great, got it. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. Anyone that has a transaction coordinator in place or a brokerage should really take a look at it, because it's the efficiency factor. And again, making these folks more money. They're doing more transactions. They can do a lot more.
Well, that's the key. And I mean, you can have, if you're just starting out in the business, this gives you a lot of leverage that you don't have to hire someone right away. You know, that's always the scary first hire, where you're hiring someone for $40,000, $50,000 a year. You're not sure if you're ready. This software can eliminate some of that. You can handle a lot more transactions by yourself because you're spending so little time on them. You could get a VA for, you know, $5-6 an hour to run these for you. It basically runs itself. You just need someone to kind of monitor it, and then they can do the high level touches, you know, once a week or twice a week, or whatever your system is with your team.
Well, I love that you're providing an opportunity to the agents. Like you said, I think you nailed it on the head. That when you took on the project, you were spending, what was it, 18 hours. So if you don't have an assistant, you are one.
Yes.
And as a real estate agent, the most dollar productive activities you should be doing is lead generating, going on appointments, and writing contracts.
Right.
So you're providing, and then it goes to the servicing of that of those contracts and clients, right?
Yep.
So you're accelerating somebody's business without having to take a risk of hiring and putting a salary on a payroll up front in the event they don't feel comfortable doing that.
Yep.
And because we all know that first administrative hire is the key hire to build your business.
Yep. And
I always get asked when should I hire somebody? And my response is right away. I was fortunate. I have never not had an assistant, because when I started in the business in '98, I joined a team, and an assistant came with that team, so I had that leverage. So I have literally never taken a escrow from start to finish ever in 23 years. Now I know every piece of it, but I've never actually done it.
Yeah.
And I share that with to support the service that you're providing, because when you understand that and you can strictly focus on your lead generation and building the relationships and converting to appointments and appointments into agreements, and agreements into escrows, and let you service the escrow piece of it, or somebody that you've hired, your business will accelerate much faster than trying to do it all yourself.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, having that first assistant is so important. After that, I guess our goal was hire the first person as quick as possible and get that key hire in, but then hire when it's painful after that. So you're not bringing on, profit first, then bring on people that you need when it's painful. And the other thing is, we're going to see some downward pressure on these commissions. I mean, you see these corporations starting to get wise to real estate and say, hey, we can make a lot of money here. And they can get, they can get Silicon Valley investors to come in, and they can run at deficits for a longer period of time than we can. So if the NAR DOJ talks end with us having to post our commissions on the IDX sites, we're going to have a lot more conversations with people about our commissions. If they see we're making $21,000 off a commission, they may want a piece of that. And so there's going to be a lot more conversations about that. So if we do have that downward pressure from the Redfins of the world and people like that, this is going to enable you to run over 100 transactions a month with one person on your team, so that you're not having to hire multiple assistants, and you can take an extra $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 to the bottom line to make up for some of that competition that I think we're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. Mindy, what are you seeing as far as downward pressure on commissions?
I mean, I think that we're definitely seeing consumers having more options than they've ever had before. And so definitely the conversations around what the benefit of working with a skilled agent, certainly in this market, looks like. The commissions is really only a piece of the conversation, right? I mean, we've all been in this business long enough to know that what a consumer is most interested in is what they're going to end up with at the end. And that's part financial, that's also part convenience, that's part, what their emotional support looks like throughout the transaction. And, we're lucky in Arizona that we're really ground zero for a lot of alternative ways to sell your home. And so because of that, we've become very comfortable with knowing the ins and outs of how it actually works, what it looks like behind the scenes, what people actually end up with at the end of the day. And so, our value as real estate agents in the Valley is to really be able to provide somebody with all of the solutions that are available to them. And that comes often with a different commission structure and always with a better outcome.
What's the better outcome you're referring to?
It depends on what it means to the clients, right? I mean, just like we always talk about, is this a good time to sell my house, or is this a good time to buy a house? It's, well, what are you trying to accomplish? And the outcome is the same. The outcome is directly related to what the client is trying to accomplish. So understanding what their best outcome is 100% what drives the activities that we'll do to help them get there.
Right. A lot of agents, they're not finding out the goals of the client first. I mean, that's the main thing. If you don't know their goals, you can't help them. You need to know, because money may not be the driving factor for them. It may not be to get the highest price. It may be to sell fastest or some other consideration in their life. So without doing a deep dive with these buyers and sellers before you even take them to see a house, or maybe after you take them to see the first house, on what their goals are, that's just so important. And a lot of people are missing the boat on that.
So I have a question for you, Andrew. I have 2 questions. You mentioned that obviously to utilize your service, it has to be a match. How do you identify who is a match and who is not?
Well, anyone can use it. So we have a couple different plans that you can get on. You can get on a basic plan, and the basic plan still has automation in it. You have tasks. You can be task-based, and when you click off a task, 50 things happen, whatever you want. You can send out emails and text messages and add templates and do all this stuff automatically. And we do have a booster plan, and we do have, so emails build themselves in our system. So you set it up to say, if the agent fills out a form and sends it over to the TC, or the TC can fill out the form for them if you don't want the agents to do it. Either way, they answer some questions. Is there an HOA? Is there a septic? Is there a well? Is it FERPed up? All the special considerations that we need to look at during a transaction. If they say yes to one of those, then it's going to trigger a bunch of stuff to happen in the background. And it's going to start building emails for you as well. So that opening email to the buyer, the opening email to the escrow agent, those are building themselves. So if you said yes, there's septic, there's going to be a note in that email to the escrow agent saying, just so you're aware, there's a septic on this property. So now you don't have to have all these highlighted template emails and say, well, if there's 2 buyers, I got to go in and change this line. If there's a septic, I got to go in and add this paragraph. All that's done for you based on the fields. So, so to circle back to your original question, there's a basic plan that you can get on that will, anyone can get on. But if you want to get on the full automation plan, that's a little bit more expensive, we have to talk to you and just make sure it's a good fit, because there is quite a bit of setup in that plan. And we want to make sure that you actually have the people in place to do that so that you don't burn out on the system. We do have help with onboarding. We do have outsourced people that have already set up a system that will help you set up the system. So there's a lot of different ways we can go about it, but we do like to talk to the people that want to be on the full automation plan before they get on it, just so they understand what it entails.
How many agents do you have in your program?
So we're just getting started, Jesse. Actually, it's not even available yet to the public. So yeah, it's yeah. So I know Andrew's got some test ones out there. How many test groups do you have?
Yeah, so what we did was we used it on my team and set it up. We also started a TC agency, a test TC agency that the head TC is going to take over that now, because we don't want to be in the TC or the agent business really. So we do have a beta group on there right now. We're pumping through about, 400, 500 transactions a month through the system just to test it, make sure everything's good. Still working on a couple bugs, but it should be ready to release here in 2 to 3 weeks.
That's a significant amount, 400 to 500 a month. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, some of these teams that we're bringing on, and especially TC agencies, there's a lot of TC agencies on there that are pumping out, 4,000 transactions a year. And so the transactions per month pile up pretty quick.
Yeah, and importantly, this isn't just limited to Arizona. This is so that Andrew and Open to Close you guys are available, will be available nationally, correct?
We will. The good thing about Arizona is I already have my system set up for Arizona. So if people sign up for Arizona and you contact Don or Sharon or one of the people from the Fidelity team, we're going to give you free setup. We're going to give you a 30-day free trial, and you're going to get some of my time on my calendar to show you exactly what I did in Arizona, so that it speeds up the process of getting this in place for you.
So the onboarding into your system, then, is that done virtually?
Yeah, everything's done through Zoom or Google Meet. We can set it up that way. If you were using our first software, we can migrate the information over. If you're brand new to the program, I'll show you what I did in Arizona so that you have a much faster setup. So, but yeah, everything's through Zoom or Meet for the most part.
So the second question I wanted to ask you is, and good for you, you're thinking multiple income streams. And so how did you get there, and what made you think there's opportunity and I should expand and diversify myself into multiple income streams?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I came from a family with not a lot of money, so I didn't have this background of any financial teaching. So when I got out to Arizona, I read as many books as I possibly could. But how I came across that was just kind of a dumb luck. I was talking to a guy and he said, "Yeah, I'm a civil engineer, but I also have a cleaning business." And I'm like, "Why the heck do you have a cleaning business?" Because he had someone running it for him, and he was making an extra $70,000 a year running this cleaning business, and he didn't have to do anything. They were calling into a call center. They were taking the appointments. They were giving them to the cleaners, and the cleaners were going out and clean. All he did was, he called it mailbox money. He said, "I go to my mailbox every month and I collect my check. And if anyone quits, then we hire a new crew." But that was his sole responsibility for that business. So that's kind of when the gears started turning. And then I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and I got some ideas from that and said, hey, if I could just make 50, at first it was 50. If I could just make 50,000 from 4 businesses, that's a lot of money. And then it went to, hey, okay, I'm there. Let's make 100,000 in each business. Let's make 150 in each business. And you can slowly build that up. And if you outsource the work, what you can't do is let it go. That's the one thing that I would advise against, is let this go. You have to have either once a week meetings with your head person for that business with KPIs that they're meeting every single week, or you're going to lose control of it and it's going to be a complete disaster. So don't go out there and just try to jump in all these businesses without having the proper systems in place to manage them.
I love it. Hey, Don, can I share my screen real quick?
Sure thing.
I had it ready to roll. Oh, yeah, there. Yeah.
So Don, just to give you an idea too, for my Arizona people, anyone that's using Fidelity and goes through Fidelity, you have to call Fidelity first for them to contact me. But if you do that, last night I was on a Zoom call until 11 o'clock helping someone set up their system. So not that I'm going to do that every night, but I will anyone affiliated with Fidelity, I will help more, and I will have a little bit more time on my calendar for them. So
thank you, Andrew.
If you are interested
in your partnership so much.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, and guys, it's such an advantage having Andrew here, living here, and being able to help. And I mean, it's enormous. It's really an amazing resource.
Yeah, and something while Jesse's getting his screen up, something that you mentioned, Andrew, or earlier, Andrew, and Jesse was alluding to as well, is that we've always talked about that roller coaster of real estate, right? That I'm going to go out, I'm going to get a bunch of deals, and then you got to spend all this time working on those deals, and then you're like, oh, good, everything's closed. Like, well, wait, where's my next paycheck coming from? And I'm unemployed again. And so this is something that I think can help to balance out that roller coaster and help to create that freedom for you to have the time to do the things, as Jesse was talking about, those revenue generating activities that are going out and making sure you have that next paycheck in line. So
sorry, Don, where I see it the most is in the cold weather states, where these guys are pumping out 70% of their transactions from March to August. Well, now they can have one transaction coordinator. Not many agents are doing 1,500 transactions a year. Let's be real. So you can literally, if you get the system in place and run it right with the right person and maybe one assistant, you can do 1,500 transactions a year with one person with an assistant. So that is not out of reach, and it can balance that out so they're not hiring and laying off and hiring and laying off. Not so much of a problem here in Arizona, but you go to like a Wisconsin and they have more of a problem with that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay, here you are, sir.
And the learning curve, Andrew, if they had to replace somebody, would be so much easier than having someone train you, because everything's already set up in the system. All they got to do is learn that.
And it's all role based. So if someone quits, you pop another person in, it updates all 900 transactions you have going on with the right person and the right task. So everything is built for an organization, not individual people.
Yeah, so efficient. Love it.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so you're speaking my language, Andrew. So I want to invite you to this and come add into the discussion if you would.
That's awesome.
January 26th from 2 to 3:30 here at the Market Center and on Zoom. We're going to talk about exactly what you were just talking about, and I'm going to go through why, what, how, and by when to build these multiple income streams and how to expand upon it. So everybody that's watching, is, if you're interested, is welcome to attend, either on Zoom or here at the Market Center. And go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, think about this, guys, because you should attend this 100%. And the reason is, if you can make an extra $10,000 without doing anything, it doesn't have to be 100. What if it's 20? Would $20,000 change your family's life? Could they go on some extra vacations? Could they buy a new car? Could they put it in an education fund for your kids? There's a lot of things you can do with $20,000. So even if it's a very small business that you start with, there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah. Agreed. So, well, Jesse, thank you. And is there a link? Do you have an RSVP link for that? I can put it up on the screen here as we're wrapping up later on. So,
yeah, I will get that for you.
Excellent. Perfect. And okay, so let's now make our pivot to talk about what's going on with the official. I made my little joke earlier that Martin Luther King weekend is the official kickoff to real estate season in Arizona. It ends Jesse, right around it runs from that weekend, the second and third weekend in January, and it runs all the way through about Halloween, right?
What does? I'm sorry.
The official real estate season in Arizona.
Usually, officially it comes whenever the week after the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we're a couple weeks away from that yet, but we're already seeing the increase in upticks in business. But so Mindy, Jesse, if you guys can give us that update, what are we seeing out there? What's changed since last week? Have we seen an increase in new homes coming to the market? What's going on?
So, I mean, unfortunately, from a numbers perspective, both our new listings and our new rental listings, so both for sale and for rent, are down about 15% year over year. So we were hoping, especially with the fact that December pushed up such great new listing counts as had the months prior to that, we hoped that that momentum would continue into January, since we know that we obviously need every single last house that we can find. But it looks like we're getting a little slower start than normal. I think there's, probably a couple of reasons for that. And I think the primary one is probably fatigue. And it's probably fatigue on both the client side and the agent side. So what I mean by that is that, on the client side, we've been in this really intense market now and world in general, right, for a good year, where the opportunity for people is huge and it takes a little bit of navigating, right? And you've got to understand, are you ready to make a move right now? Have you gotten your pre-qual? Do you have some money set aside? Do you understand what a good financial outcome for you is? Do you have to make a move in the middle to make it work? I mean, there's just a lot of moving pieces. And so I think what you risk after being in that type of an environment for a little while is just some general fatigue. And then I think that you've also got some fatigue on the agent side. So right now we've got about, from a numbers perspective, about one listing per real estate office. Now it doesn't actually work out like that. That's just the available inventory equates to about one per each real estate office. And I think the message there is that there's plenty of real estate agents who have just decided not to participate in this market. They have just decided it's too hard, it takes too many skills. They have to start looking for new partners, looking for new solutions. The conversations may feel a little more complicated. And certainly they're all doing this while managing their own families and COVID and political change and things like that. So I think there's a big chunk of the real estate population who's pulled out. And then there's a chunk of people like us who never stopped working for our clients and have been going at, 150 since March of last year. And so I think you've just got some general fatigue on both sides. Also, when you have an election, you'll typically have a very short-term impact to the real estate market. It's usually traditionally about a couple of weeks where you see a little bit of a pause. And so I think we might be in that. The hope is that, come February, we see a little bit more come to the market. But if we're not good about helping people understand the options and how things work, you won't be able to help as many people this year. One of the things that I talked about when we got together this morning to go over the market in our office, which I mentioned, I think that we do that every Thursday morning, and that's also open, like Jesse mentioned, to other folks who want to participate. We talked about the fact that we need to really be helping clients right now be prepared for when they are able to take advantage of the market. So we need to be helping the ones who can do it right now. And then we need to be helping the people take the steps to be able to do it as soon as they can. And then checking back in with them in 1 month and in 2 months and in 3 months to see, are they there now and has enough change happened in the market? And it might be little changes both from them and from the marketplace that will allow them to actually make that move. But if we're not having any of those conversations about preparing and how to deal with the market and how to get into it, this is not something that's going to change overnight.
Yeah, so I think to add on to that, you expect a low inventory market for the rest of the year, at least the rest of the year. There's nothing that is going to outpace the demand, right? And like Mindy said, there's 5,556 brokerages in Phoenix, believe it or not. And
that's a lot.
So if you took the number, right, when you take the number of listings available, that equates to about one. But the other side of it, there's 8 armless agents per listing. So there's one that has the listing, 7 that's writing on it.
Yeah.
So think about it that way. So how do you navigate the market and how do you thrive in it? Well, it's a highly skilled market and a high will and high skill, and you have to go direct to the seller with an offer. to those that you can't get on the phone. And so it is what I love about a low inventory market is those that are willing to be learning based, increase their skills to the market of the moment, and then go take action. They succeed at a really high level, and they go take market share in a way that they'll never lose. So on the flip side of it, if you don't, you're going to lose market share that you'll never gain. So from the agent perspective, the second thing that I would like to point out is we had the second highest number of sales on record behind 2005, and it was just short 2,471 sales. So ultimately a record year, right? The difference is the average sales price from 2004 was 42% higher. So think on that for a minute.
No, it's 42% higher
than 2004, not last year.
Oh, yeah.
So the highest ever previously, 2004 and 5.
Yeah.
Last year was 42% higher.
Right. Which is amazing, right? So that's a lot more money that's getting put into play.
Well, it is. It can be amazing. Yeah, it certainly can. And as an industry, so as a seller, you could take advantage of obviously a higher price than you've ever been able to in history of our market. Secondly, as an agent, high tides rise all boats. So be real careful on how you're approaching your business, and I wouldn't be relying on if you had a record year last year, some of us, that you can sit on your laurels this year and ride it out. It is going to be a very similar year market-wise as it was last year, which is very intense.
You can't. I mean, the truth of the matter is you can't. I mean, these are the conversations that we're having on our team. And I think it's actually, if you are a learning-based person and you aren't somebody who likes to do the same thing day after day after day, which in theory should be in part why you own your own business, but some people do get into this and really aren't cut out necessarily for being business owners. But we have this conversation in our team right now, and it's actually exciting. Because the truth of the matter is that when you have a W-2 job, or you go to a job and you show up every morning and you sit at a desk and someone tells you what to do, what you do from year after year doesn't really change very much. If you do operations, you do operations. Now, your company may change a little bit how you do things, so you may do things a little bit differently. In our industry, what we do on a daily basis, I'm not talking about fundamentals. I'm saying the things that we do on a daily basis respond to what's happening in the market. And so the beauty is that every year you have to do the same things. You have to lead generate, meaning that you have to find new clients to work with. You have to talk to more people. You have to be educated about what's happening. You have to be able to guide people. You have to come from a place of contribution. You have to get up every day and you have to go to work. All of those things stay the same no matter what. And as the market shifts, what you get to do in that time changes. And so our team we've been talking about what are all of the ways to take advantage of the market? What are all of the options that people have? What are all the pain points that people have? Why should someone be able to take advantage of it now? If they can't take advantage of it now, what do they do next? And they're going out there and they're having as many of those conversations with people as possible. They've been doing a lot of door knocking. And door knocking is not something that we've traditionally spent a lot of time on outside of around open houses. And right now we're using it as a means to talk to as many people as we can. Does it take time? Yes. Does everybody answer the door? No. Is everybody willing to have a conversation about real estate? No. But what we do know is that in COVID, a lot of people have decided to turn off the television because they don't want to watch that anymore. So they're not getting real estate news. They don't know what's happening in their market. They are not going to work, so they are not around the water cooler. They are not hearing stories about people selling their houses and just having natural conversation with people. They are cut off from a lot of really important information. And some are just damn near lonely. So, they just want to talk to somebody, right? But we're able to go out there and have conversations with people. And if there's an opportunity for them, great. If not, we've educated them. And maybe they know somebody who can take advantage of the information that we've shared with them, or we can follow up with them in a few months and maybe something has changed in their circumstance. I mean, when you talk about coming from a place of contribution, there is no greater time to our value as a real estate agent than what we're experiencing right now. People need us. People need us to help them understand what's going on. They need us to explain to them what their options are and know that we're a partner for them. We're a neighbor, we're a family member, we're a community partner, and we are here for them. And so that's exciting because that's building new skills. We have to go out and meet new partners so that if someone has a challenge and we can't meet it ourselves, we know who we can bring in, who's doing a cool lease to own program, who's doing a cool buy and then sell back kind of program, which apartment complexes have 3-bedroom apartments that allow dogs that you can have a 3 or a 6 month lease. Like we're being given this gift of seeking out new information. And if you're in the right business, this is going to energize you.
You know, Mindy, I think that
couldn't tell at all. Wow.
Right. You're so
like a mic drop right there.
I know. She's like that.
You can solve people's problems, right? Because you're right. When you go and you hit that door, and these people are like, "Well, where would I go? What would I do?" And if you're able to help solve those problems and concerns, you know, and we've talked so much about, you know, that these interest rates are just amazing, and that, you know, Amber and her team, man, they just bring wheelbarrows of cash to people, and they don't even charge them for it. And so that it is that, you know, there's so much opportunity out there. And
well, I have people ask me, even in the industry, they say, "Aren't you worried about your business this year?" Right? Aren't you worried? There's a really low inventory. It's harder to get each deal. Aren't you worried about your business this year? And the truth of the matter is, yes, you have to watch your spending. Yes, you have to build your skills. Yes, you have to go out there and work hard every day. One, if you're working hard every day, that is the best that you can do. If you're not working hard every day, then yeah, you should be worried about it.
Hold on here. Let's look at something.
Wait, I had a really important point to make.
I know, but you were making an important point. The inventory is tight. Transactions and opportunities are not.
Right.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's like it's houses.
100 sales, huh?
That's what I'm saying. Like we are in the business of houses, of homes, of families. We're not selling pants with buttons that no one needs anymore because they're on Zoom. Right? Yeah. We're selling houses that people live in and will keep needing to live in them. Is it harder to go from one place to the next? Absolutely. Is it more complicated? Absolutely. Do we all want a place to live? Absolutely. So that part didn't change.
Mindy,
it's just the conversation.
I think you hit on something really important there is if you can do what's best for your client, taking it kind of back to the middle of your last is, if you can do what's best for your client, you can educate them and have give them the best option. Even if that isn't with you, they will remember that and they will be a lifetime client. If you say, "Hey, I found a rental place for you. They accept dogs. It's the cheapest place in town and it's the best place." They're going to remember that for the life of it. They're like, "Hey, this guy's not a salesman. He really cares about me."
Yeah. And it's about building that relationship from there, because I think that's our opportunity, right? If we are able to help show people how to achieve their goals, to achieve, you know, right now is that time for looking for that, you know, because you can go from your house you bought, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, and maybe that wasn't the dream house. Maybe that was the house for now. And now that you've earned so much equity in that house and the money has become so much less expensive that you can go to that dream home. But somebody has to educate and help people see that, because it doesn't, you know, you get stuck on what the numbers are on the price and you don't always understand, like, oh my gosh, but you're going to walk away with this much equity out of the home you're in. And Amber's going to give you money for almost free. So, you know, it is, when you combine those two things, you can end up with the same monthly expenses, but being your dream home, you know, and that somebody has to take the time to educate people. Then somebody has to show them how, yes, there are challenges. Mindy made a big point about that. There are challenges, but we are in the solution business. So let's figure out how to pair those together. So
a good way to do that on conversations too is, hey, they may be 3 years out, get them on a plan. Okay, 3 years.
Exactly.
You need 6 months to get your credit right. Okay, so there's 2.5 years. Take them backwards. When you're having these conversations with people, sometimes they're like, oh, I'm just looking. Well, what are you looking for? When are you thinking about it? Because if you can lock down that date, hey, March next year is when I really want to do it, then you can backtrack and say, okay, we need to start getting serious around this time. They don't realize how long sometimes it takes to find that home. So,
yeah. Okay, I wanted to ask a question, and I think this is an opportunity to get some feedback from Amber as well. But both, all three of you guys, in addition to Amber, are going to have some feedback on if we've seen a difference with the new loan limits. Has that affected much people's ability to buy? Because we still have the appraisal issues, we still have, and the competition going around properties. But Amber, have you seen anything as far as an impact for buyers at this point? And Andrew, Mindy, Jesse, I'd love to hear your feedback too.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes, I mean, we have buyers that were needing to go conventional, that were capping out at the old limit, that now have been able to bump up their search, open up a little bit more opportunity for them. So that's been a really good thing. But I haven't yet seen like a really dramatic impact to it. Mindy, Jesse, Andrew, what do you guys think?
No, I mean, so FHA went from what to what?
It's up to 368 now from 331.7.
And then conventional went
Up to 548,250 from 510.
So when I look at those numbers and we look at the appreciation rates that we've experienced over the last 12 to 18 months, they really didn't adjust enough to pace with the market, right? So that's probably why we're not seeing a drastic difference in the market as far as market's concerned with borrowing.
Yeah.
I don't think it made an impact. I think the appreciation has outpaced the increase they gave. Although, obviously an increase is good. It may have opened a couple doors, but as the market as a whole, it was a very, very minimal increase compared to the appreciation as it relates to if we're talking affordability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and the struggle right now isn't even as much affordability as it is getting offers accepted, right? Like the FHA buyers, it's a struggle, right? They don't have the extra money. They can't make these aggressive offers typically. And so that's where like being solution oriented is knowing they're going to be up against some challenges. So how do we work around that? Is there some creative solutions? Can they get a gift? Can they take from a 401k? What can they do to compete with the conventional buyers that are out there? So that's what we're really talking about, because I have one client that's on her like 11th offer. She just finally got it accepted yesterday, and she's been fighting through, but just so discouraged and so just deflated from this market. And so those are the people that are really struggling right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just a little worried about time. We got about 10 minutes left. And so I wanted to make sure, Amber, that we touched on rates and impacts on those as well.
Yeah.
So, I know last week we'd seen a little uptick, but nothing, it's so funny because when we hit 4, everybody was like, oh my gosh, we're at 4. And now if you told somebody at 4, they're like, what? Well, I thought I was getting 2.5.
3. And, 3. Yeah. But interest rates did. So after the Georgia election, we saw interest rates go up for 5 days in a row, and then they moved sideways for a while. And now over the last 4 days, we've seen them getting better. So we've made up about half of what we lost after the Georgia election. And so right now, interest rates are still incredibly low. We've seen them come back down a little bit, which is always great reason to create urgency with our clients to say, look, they went up. We don't have control over this. There is no guarantee that we're going to see these low rates through 2021. Buy now, right? What can we do with your offer to make you more aggressive, to be able to win? And the same solutions we've talked about. I mean, we're talking a lot about going over appraised value and what does that mean for you, because that's really where you need to be to win right now. And if you can come out strong and you feel confident in your plan, how much faster will you go under contract, and how much more likely are you to get the home that you really want?
That's why I think the plan piece is so important, because we've been doing this for a year. It's not like we wake up every morning and we don't know what's happening. We should be able to say, in this market, these are the 3 things that you need to have as a buyer to be able to win today. Are there exceptions to that? Of course. Do we leverage relationships in real estate? 100%. Do we find ways to get around paying over appraised value and all of that? Absolutely. We need to be telling people you need these 3 things to be successful and competitive in this market. If you don't have these, right, we're going to work to get you to be able to take advantage of it. There's going to be challenges, and we may have a few offers, and we're going to go through this together, but we need to better set up that landscape for people. And then if they have the wherewithal and the grit and the perseverance to go through that process with us, they just may get to win without those 3 things. But at least they're prepared and mentally know what they're getting into. And if they don't have that, if they have a job that doesn't give them flexibility to go see houses, they don't feel comfortable making offers without seeing it. If they don't do those, if they can't do those things, then what can we tell them to do right now so that in 3 months, if there's a change, they can do something?
Yeah.
Is it 9 shorter leases? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, we need to be giving them some more guidance than just what happens today.
Yeah, and like Andrew was saying too, like the plan, it doesn't matter how far out they are, but the better prepared they are, the more likely they are to win in this market. So the clients that we get, like the rushes happen, like, oh my gosh, they just saw property, they didn't know they were going to want to buy, and we need to make an offer. That conversation is so different than the client that comes to us, does the proper consultation, we strategize, we come up with solutions, they come to you prepared. So the more that you can get in front of it and the more that you can encourage, just start your education process right now, because it makes all of the difference, is more important than ever, I think. And more often than not, I talk to a client that's like, I'm 6 months, a year, 2 years out or whatever. And all of a sudden, once they see what it looks like, they see that they qualify, they look at, wow, my payment's only this much higher if I sell now and invest this much of my proceeds. They're now actively wanting to buy instead of sitting on the sidelines watching prices and interest rates go up and potentially you losing that opportunity, So that education piece, just like pushing that right now, is so important.
Yeah, if you're educating, now might be the time. It may not be in a year or 6 months. That might be a picture that actually takes them completely out of the market at that point.
Yeah. The problem is they may say 2 years, but they're guessing. They don't have.
They don't know.
They don't have their information to make a good decision. You have to educate them on that information so that then they can make the best decision for their family. And when you come at it like that, and you come at it from a consultant type view instead of a sales type view, they feel that, they trust you, and you can put a plan in place to get their goals accomplished.
Yep.
It's funny. I look back to the olden days when I was just a young lad starting my career at Fidelity National Title, sales executive, walking into Jesse Herpel's office, and both of us with our flowing hair.
This must have been before I came 20 years ago, and I just I'm not sure.
1923.
20 years ago.
Yeah, but we had but Jesse was talking with his team, and he was talking about, when somebody says they're 6 months out, they're a year out, at what point, are you reaching back out to them? Jesse's like, you always cut that time in half. And Andrew, to your point, you're right. They're guessing, right? They're where they think they're going to be. So, but helping them put together that plan and educate them, because it changes everything, right? It really knowing what the preparedness is for this, and what I can have. It's like anything else, right? Everybody on the screen is setting goals all the time. And so if my goal is to be into a new home, then what is the work I need to do, right? To get to that, to achieve that goal. But you have to be educated to know that, you have to be prepared. So yeah, I think that it's so important that we spend the time, and I put up the comment from Melanie, and she's on point where, she's on, the more clients know, the more comfortable they will be in making that quick decision when that right home becomes available, and that's that is on point. That when they have all their ducks in a row, it's gonna be really easy. So,
Amber, what did the rates go? Don, I'm really impressed that you were paying attention that long ago. That's awesome, and that you're still retaining it.
well, now we still can
I'll
mention
let the supervisor know you're doing awesome.
Yeah.
Amber, what did the rates jump to in those 4 to 5 days?
I mean, they were up about 1/8%, maybe a quarter at the most. So we're talking like up to maybe 2.99 from 2.75. And now we're back to about 2.875, somewhere in that range. So we're still in the twos for someone who's got great credit score and is, well qualified. So they're still amazing.
So what does a 1/4% do to a $500,000 loan?
On 500,000, you're probably talking about $50 a month.
$50 a month. Okay. So what my point is we have a tendency to have amnesia around pricing and interest rates as a whole, right? As people. And what these windows of opportunities that I talk about all the time, they open quickly and they close quickly. And this idea that we think, oh, it's going to be the same for the next 12 months or 24 months or whatever it might be. There could be some similarities, but the truth is it's always moving and it's always changing. And if you go down to the 350 mark, a 1/4% now has a buyer going to a different neighborhood than maybe their kids to a different school. So your point around educating and informing on what you can do today based on what we know today is critical. And if you can take advantage, if you can accomplish your goal today, why wait for something that you think might happen?
Well, and I think too, part of that is I don't think people really like to be sold. Obviously, how many times have you walked in a store and you're like, I'm just looking? That's kind of I'm looking in 12 months to 18 months when they probably are more aggressively looking right now. They just don't necessarily want to tell you and get sold. So the education piece and being upfront on what they can buy today and how important it is with the interest rates and jumping into something right now and getting more for their money is so important. And to get them off that.
It's so true. We have a person on our leadership team that's been in the business for over 15 years, maybe 20. And she's been on the sidelines waiting to buy. And I actually just had a conversation in the hall the other day and randomly, and she had these things in her head that she thought had to be done. And I said, all right, so so we talked and I said, I want you to call Linder by the end of business on Monday. And she did, and she's in the pre-qualification process and going to be buying. And she was, I'm telling you, around some of the top agents in the nation every day and had that mindset of I need to wait. So it truly is educating, even the ones that you think might already know.
Right.
It's amazing how frequently that happens. And I've told the story about, our own family members who, this is what I talk about. This is, when I'm doing my down social time, I'm still like, oh my gosh, so this is what's happening and all that. And, we had somebody who's like, well, we want to save up for a down payment. We want to do 20% down. And that's a great goal. And it's a great thing, but why? There's all of these other things that are available for you that can help this, and you could be earning money on that money while you're building your 20%, letting the house do the work for you too. So it's, there's just such great opportunity out there. Well, guys, we're coming to the end of our time, and I do want to, before we sign off, I want to make sure that I congratulate Mindy on what a fabulous job you and your team did, and everybody you brought together on the iCanteen Center over in Chandler. We saw you on the news, and we are, so impressed with that. Can you share a little bit about what was going on there?
Yeah, for sure. So at the Amy Jones Group, we try to do a quarterly service project, and this one just kind of grew wings. I'm lucky to be in business with people who get behind my crazy ideas. So thank you to Fidelity, who is one of those people who believes in me. I just went to ICANN to do a Live, Love, Local video on them, and their teen center was a little lackluster. And I asked about it, and they actually had an organization that was set to renovate it, but because of COVID, they decided not to do it. And so that's all you got to tell me. And on Monday, we put the finishing touches on it. They got brand new flooring, paint, all new window coverings, all new furniture, Chromebooks, like to the max. It's a beautiful center. They do amazing work there in Chandler. There's a million other organizations that you all can support in your local community. That's what gives us the flavor of community. And just remember, it doesn't have to be something so big like what we did. It can be small. You can volunteer, you can drop something off. There's always a way to give back. So this was an awesome project, and I'm just so grateful to have been a part of it.
Yes, and thank you for what you do in the community. And I think that's such a big part of your business, Mindy. And being a Chandler resident, I appreciate all of that. And it's great to see. And I know all of you guys are out there. We talked with Ty last week about volunteerism and some of the things that he does around that. So, but thank you guys all. Thank you all for making the time for this today, volunteering your time to be with me this morning. So that always means a lot to me. If you're looking for more information on Open to Close, reach out to Sharon or myself or your Fidelity sales executive, and we are happy to put you in touch and get you a demo set up. Amber, thank you so much for everything you're doing and for keeping that money cheap.
Yes.
So,
work on that, Amber. Keep going.
Jesse, we look forward to attending your business building class, and I will go back to this and put it in the comments, put the flyer, and I think I'm going to show it myself to check it out because I like money. Everybody else. So, Sharon, thank you for your insight and your time this morning.
Thank you guys for being part of this. This is always fun. And Andrew, love Open to Close, and we're going to keep talking about it. And it's an amazing resource, guys. Take advantage of it.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. I got to jump on a sales call, so I'll see you guys later.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.